All right, meeting is being recorded. So, hi everyone, welcome to this working group serving meeting today, 12th of March, and welcome everyone to the working group meeting. Remember, we are being recorded and we need to behave under the CNCF user agreement, so behave and be good with each other. And with that, let's do a initial call out to the work stream leads. Anyone want to start with orchestration, DRA, auto-scaling, or multi-host?
On the other side, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're maybe you have more to add, Sergey, but we're executing towards code freeze. Not that much to say there. There's a few other little things we're starting to work on. Things like possibly support for resource claim templates in job set and in leader worker set. I think I saw Edwin on the call here, which might be useful in some of the multi-host, particularly the leader worker set multi-host inference case. I can explain more at some point if people are interested. But yeah, really just execution mode. Most things look good. I'm worried about partitionable devices, but we're going to do everything we can to get it in. I don't know if you have anything to add, Sergey.
No, what you said. Execution towards code freeze.
Thank you. Anyone else for another work stream? We have someone for orchestration, multi-host, auto-scaling in the meeting. Okay, if not, we can go to sub-projects. So anyone from, so Kellen, you're up.
Cool. Yeah, we are cutting O.2 this week. Nothing super exciting to say other than that. Moving right along, we're working on some of our guides to help show the wins that we're seeing. We got some feedback that our guides aren't straightforward there, so working on that. Definitely need to do that, but otherwise just working away.
Thank you. Is Jason here? I don't see him. Ashok for inference perf.
Yeah, some more progress on the benchmarking suite. We now have a dataset support. ShareGPT is added. Now we can extend it to add other ones too. One missing piece to have like an end-to-end POC implementation ready is like a report generation and collecting some token level metrics that we initially called out in the design. So those two are in progress. Once that is there, I think we can probably have a demo of how it works end to end. Maybe in another week plus. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Anyone has questions? Looks like not. Okay, moving forward. So Clayton.
Hey, I just wanted to. I know Rob brought this up last time, but we didn't record any notes in the chat. So there's at least 3 talks I'm aware of on the Inference Gateway extension. I wanted to make sure that we folks have talks that are relevant to working group serving. That for those attending, they know what to look for, and for those not attending, if they're interested later, they can go and look at work that's been driven by the driven by this working group. I'd also love to catch up with folks who will be in person at KubeCon London. So I think maybe, I don't know if like we should just like create like a poll for a day or something and get people to create a link. I can create a link in here for a poll and see where people want to join if they're going to be in person to all meet up. And yeah, John.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know. Hopefully, a bunch of folks will be at the Maintainer Summit on Monday. One thing I put in an unconference topic. So the way the unconference works is you put in topics now up until I think like the morning of, and then by midday they actually pick the topics. And there's only 5 slots from what I can tell for like all CNCF projects, which is troubling for me, but so we don't know how many of these will actually get selected, but there's one of particular interest. Well, here are the ones that are, I think, of potential interest to this group. I'm going to copy them over from the work group device management agenda into this agenda. But yeah, please, I'd love to catch up with anybody there as well. As we move forward with DRA, we've got a bunch of things working and in the pipeline. And as I have often said in this meeting before, give me requirements, right? What does inference need? What does multi-host inference need? What does inference auto-scaling need? I think there's some interesting things we'll be able to demonstrate there around inference and fungibility across hardware models that we can do with DRA that we couldn't do easily otherwise. But yeah, anyway, that's all. I'll stop talking.
I was going to ask John, one of the topics, I know Antonio had the multi-network through, or device network through DRA investigation. I feel like, I don't think we've talked about that in this, it'd be under the multi-host work stream, but like it's kind of a big topic. That was one of the big multi-host concerns, network and config and topology. Would that be an appropriate topic to maybe come back to the working group on? Like, I'd love to chat about it in person as well, but also
absolutely. So there's a couple of aspects. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, we can schedule a maybe after, I guess not next week, this week's meet, because like after Code Freeze. Or maybe after KubeCon, then we'll have maybe an update on some of the specific applications of DRA that are relevant to this group, and I'd happy to networking, some of the leader worker set stuff I just mentioned. I think there's a bunch of things.
Yeah, I would probably say like I think a general trend. I certainly been pretty heads down getting ready for KubeCon, and I know that various folks on the various gateway and benchmarking efforts were definitely kind of working together. One thing that I thought might be useful, and this is maybe more of a broad topic, so I don't want to take up too much time from Kellen, but would be along the same lines of having Antonio present the DRA work. I know there have been some auto scaling topics discussed for the gateway, kind of been tossing around the idea that the gateway should expose auto scaling metrics for the items under its control, for the items that it's serving to, because it has a better view. And one of the reasons for that, and I think this is what brought it up, John, which was heterogeneity of accelerator really only works if the accelerators have identical operational characteristics. And if they don't have identical operational characteristics, either you pick your use case that has those identical operational characteristics, or you say YOLO it and just say, Linux, okay with it.
I guess the way I see it is serving a little bit slower is better than not serving at all. And
that's generally true for some serving workloads and completely untrue for others. And
fair.
So I think that's the distinction, that what we want to have a discussion maybe at the serving level, pull this up from what's going on in Inference Gateway, and maybe like have like DRA perspective is go through that specifically. Dolo's not here, and John's not here, but
so along these lines, like this kind of bigger picture, like, right, we have many layers of the stack. We can solve certain problems at different layers, and they have pros and cons at those different layers. And like, you have to run inference gateway, right? If you don't, like that can be a pro and a con.
Well,
So
yeah, if you don't care about latency, you know, like there's lots of inference workloads that aren't latency sensitive. And then for all the ones that are, you need something that deals with that helps you deal with the complexity. And there are solutions. So I think that's actually a good discussion. Maybe I'll put this under I think it kind of fits under auto-scaling the best.
Thing, the Kubernetes evolution for AI/ML. So the specific topic I'm proposing there is kind of, let's look at the whole stack. We've done a little bit of, like, we did that a year ago in KubeCon EU, and that's where these two groups, work group serving and work group device management, came out of. It's a year later. We've learned a lot. Let's look at that full stack, and let's try to understand, what do we know about, what do we see coming down the road? What changes does Kube need that we haven't yet identified? You know, just try and brainstorm together. So that's that in the maintainer summit on Monday, Kubernetes evolution for AI/ML, and like where we solve different problems. All this can kind of come in that discussion. I mean, how much can you get done in 45 minutes or whatever it is? But at least let's get some traction going, you know. And so anybody who's interested, please take a look at that.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of the you know, as a few projects have gone to execution, maybe what we want to do is we want to come back and go through, like, I think in the same vein of, like, at the, you know, the evolution, like checking ourselves a year later on serving. It's been about a year. We've gone through a lot of evolution. You know, there's been a lot of changes in how people are using serving. Like, there's new challenges on the horizon. Things like how you compose applications that are using LLMs effectively, where there are implications for infrastructure teams. So maybe, like, we could tee up a few topics, maybe get some ideas about what's important to talk about at the unconference or at KubeCon, but then bring that back and say, okay, let's go through as a working group and review some of the key topics. The two that I'm suggesting, I think are, you know, both a problem that fit within the local project kind of scope, but then bubble up to DRA, and then working group serving is exactly the place that we intended to have those conversations. So at least these two, I think, are test questions, and we should generate a few other test questions, maybe by going back to Jan's original list of key problems. I can go back to the original list of ways that Kubernetes sucks at AI/ML, talk about what's changed in the intervening year.
Yeah, that would be great. Like, you'll see what I did here is just sort of say, hey, let's look at. Sorry, that's not the one. I think the most interesting one is the other one you were just looking at, Eduardo. The evolution, right? It's exactly this question of, like, hey, we did this same discussion a year ago. Like, we need to evolve a Kubernetes to support these workloads. We've done a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of in-flight efforts. Some we've evaluated and aren't sure about, you know. But I tried to break it out. Like, we've got the data plane issues. We've got the control plane issues. We've got different workload controllers we're building. We've got higher layer solutions on top of this, like Q. We've got, you know, all the ecosystem projects that have some skin in the game and want to try to bring their value to Kubernetes. So this is really kind of this, and I am actually Marcin. I was seeing if Abdullah or Marcin could co-host with me, and Marcin might be able to, but it's like his flight gets in at like 12:30 or something, so it's not clear. So if there's somebody in this group who wants to co-lead, co-host with me, it's really just moderating at this point. That there's at least one open slot for that. So thank you.
And I was done as well. I captured one more bullet then right below to capture our discussion, John. So back to the agenda.
Okay, so this is just notes, right? So we are down with Kellen.
Cool. Yeah, just noticing a bit of a pattern over the last couple of weeks. It is 20 minutes past now. I think we move through the agenda rather quickly lately. Would it make sense to move this to bi-weekly? Do other people feel similarly? Just thinking about our time, and I know we're all busy, so throwing that out there.
I mean,
Sounds
originally
good.
we used, yeah, I was gonna say originally we used like the full hour, and we were kind of
Yeah.
chunking through. Then we did the work streams, and then we started rotating. And it seems like we've done a lot of project status updates as we've gotten much more concrete in a few areas. I do think like there's more maybe we can do to be going and generating new projects, but I don't think that takes an hour every week for sure.
How long
Agreed.
has it? How long has it different meetings like sub-project meetings? There are a few at Thursday, and I cannot attend either of them. And I was wondering if we want to merge them together, if it would make sense.
I mean, go ahead, Colin.
Oh, I was going to say ours, we already have a bit of a scoping challenge because we can have very inference focused topics or very gateway focused topics. I think going even broader might ostracize certain parts of our audience. That's my thought.
Historically, projects like sub-projects do have separate meetings because they're expected to develop a continuous cadence around the same set of topics each time, and that's hard to bin pack into a single discussion. Like SigNode doesn't do all of their discussions for sub-projects in the main one, do they? Maybe this is a question actually then, because like maybe the SIGs I'm familiar with are doing a little bit less of that kind of bin packing into the main one, but others are. Sergey?
No, we actually do a lot of bin packing. We typically people bring big topics and we discuss them during SIG-Node meeting, like main meeting. It may not be interesting to everybody, but we have a good rotation of topics, so it's not like one subgroup dominates SIG-Node meeting all the time.
Yeah, I having participated in a few of the inference ones recently, like it gets very deep very quickly. I think if people want to get into deep API design of like gateway objectives, not design questions that like impact others, I at least got the impression that it would be better to continue that, but that may not be true for serving catalog or inference perf.
Yeah, since I haven't been on those meetings, I just don't know what's happening there. So, if you believe you can roll it into this meeting, it will be great. If it will be interesting to everybody.
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling, but maybe we can ask like that group. We could ask the inference group because I think there are some people who attend that who don't attend this meeting.
Yeah, we get some folks who just attend the inference perf sync, but not in this one. Yeah, and we have specific focus discussions around that too. Yeah, my main concern is now it gives them a specific time to come in and just discuss that in detail, right? If we roll it into this one, do we have like separate time segments where we discuss about sub projects? How all that works, right? If someone isn't as interested in sitting through 20 minutes of gateway extension or inference perf tool, is it easier for them to drop in and drop out?
I mean, the impression I've gotten is that the Thursday meetings are execution meetings, and this is a info sharing and general like idea seeking, idea gathering status meeting, and they don't feel the same, at least right now. Maybe we want to move to biweekly half an hour to force us to say we need to be creating extra space if we need it. Because I do think like, let's say like in the early phases, we were easily using an hour each week. We've been delegating, I would expect each of the subprojects to continue to have consistent meetings with a fairly predictable cadence of topics based on what I've at least observed from Kellen, and a little bit less on the benchmark side. But then the main question would be, if we fold that in and we lose the room to go, we spawned out the work stream and then we pulled them back in. And there hasn't been as much need to do the work stream because we have concrete things executing in some of those areas. I would maybe argue I would rather spend more time trying to get the broader discussions happening here than to integrate the other discussions and take time away from that. But that's just my opinion.
So what about, I think I agree with that, Clayton. Like, what about, I think there's two things I think that are interest to the broad group, right? One is a brief status of like, are the work streams executing? What's the main, kind of like Scrum, right? Like, what are you working on? What's blocking you? Is there anything you need from anybody here? And then the other one is occasional in-depth plunge into each of those groups to make sure that there's a clear visibility. Like, I don't need to be knowing about every execution of every other sub-project every week. And certainly most people here don't care about the stuff we cover in work group device management and all the details of how DRA is executing. So, but you do want to have the conversation we just brought up earlier, which is, what are the big themes that we're doing in DRA over the next release or 2 or 3? What's our kind of timeline, vision, plan? And then are there, coming back the other way, requirements, changes, shifts in that roadmap that should happen to serve the needs of this group? So those are the two big things, right? The quick short status update and the deep dive. And maybe we could do, like, whether it's bi-weekly or weekly, we could do like 15 minutes of quick status update, 15 minutes of a deep dive on one topic, and then rotate the 4 different, I think there's 4 different work streams, rotate them in. So if we were meeting weekly, it'd be once a month. If we're meeting bi-weekly, it'd be once every 2 months. You'd do a deep dive in your area. I think less frequently than once every 2 months probably isn't good enough, because we do need to course correct on releases and things like that, which already have a 4-month cadence. So that's a possibility, I would think.
I like that. I was going to say, I can take some ownership of maybe bubbling things back up to here, but at a weekly level, you guys kind of get the continuous function rather than discrete chunks. So I think if we spread it out, it's easier to pack in information in a discrete chunk and share. So that makes sense to me. Cool. That was it. So it sounds like the general consensus is we can at least move to biweekly. Is that reasonable to say?
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe we can start after KubeCon. I mean, like, I think we have next week and then it's KubeCon, right? So.
Sure. I think that's reasonable. Yeah, and I believe we'll have some hopefully cooler things to share in the next few weeks. So cool.
And to your point, that's it. No more topics today. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.